Hi, welcome to Chronicles of 1900. I remain yours, Abraham Sunday. I want to say thank you for everyone that's been joining since I started this podcast, and I believe it's been blessing you. Like I promised last week, I'm going to be talking about how to invest your money in property. I talked about what you need to do for your first mortgage and everything, and I'm hoping that some of you already had a mortgage and you'll be like, okay, how can this bless me? People are asking me the question, oh, what's happening in the market? What can we do? I just need to say this disclaimer there that please note that I'm not a financial broker. Okay, I'm only telling you what I know by experience, and I believe you can do more research to get more information. Okay, so on this episode, I'm going to talk about how you can invest your money in property and how you can make a very good return on property, because this is something that I have tried. Now, there are different ways that you can do investment in property. Real estate is a big one everywhere in the world, and you just need to know where to get in and how to get in. There are different approaches that you can use. I'm going to name few to you today. There's what we call buy to rent. A buy to rent is where you go out there, buy the property, right, and then you rent it out to people to be paying the mortgage for you. Now, you can do interest only, or you can do capital repayment, which means if you buy the property, for example, for 100,000, right, the bank would normally ask for minimum of 25%, but the higher you can give them in terms of maybe 30 or 40%, the better deal you can get, but they would want 25%. Now, what you must understand is you don't have to prove any income or whatnot for this. This is just strictly business. So the bank wants to look at the viability of the property you're buying. If the property that you're buying or buy to rent simply can pay the mortgage, right, the bank will invest into it because it's strictly a deal. This doesn't really take into consideration your income, whether they multiply by 4, by 5 to be able to give you mortgage. No, this is strictly on the property. So if you're buying the property for 100,000 and the mortgage on the property, capital repayment and interest is maybe £600 per month, what the bank wants to see is, can you rent that property out for £700 per month? Can it be rented out for £800 per month? Can it be rented out for £1,000 per month? If you can prove that based on estate agent statistics and the demand for that area, the bank will invest in it because it's an investment for the bank as well. So the bank has 25%, you have 25% of the property. So once you can raise 25% of that 100,000 property, which is £25,000 or £30,000, then you can do buy to rent. That's a good one. Another one that you can do is rent to rent. So rent to rent is you reach out to the landlord and then you rent the property for them with the condition being given to you that you can also rent it out to somebody else. So rent to rent simply means I'll rent the property from you, but I'll rent it out to somebody else, right? And maybe you rent it to me for 1,200. I can get somebody else to rent the property for 1,500 and I make 300. But after every other expenses like maintenance or one other I need to look at, or maybe documentation, I might make maybe like 150 on a monthly basis or £200. So some people do rent to rent as well. You just need to ensure that you know where you're going and how you want to go about it. Another one that is very common is buy, refurb, and sell. Now, this is practically called flip. So you want to flip the property. It means that you will buy it, you will refurbish it, and then you sell it. Now this flip comes handy for people that are into real estate and trying to make money out of it. So what people normally do is, if the property is 100,000, sticking to the same example I gave before, they will look at the property and say, okay, can I buy it and refurbish it? Probably because it's been 25 years old and it hasn't been maintained properly, or the kitchen is outdated, or the carpets are gone, or the look on the bricks outside are not too good. I want to maybe render the property to give it a kind of a facelift. They can do that. So when you do that, you must ensure that you're doing one thing first, which is buying below market value. If the property is coming to you at 100,000, it means that if you do the refurb, right, that property should worth more than that. So what you do is that for you to buy a property for 100,000, it means that you need to check whether that property can be sold for maybe 150 or 140,000 in that area. How do you do that? You go on Rightmove, check for sold prices of houses in that area, and see the ones that are up to the standard you want to refurb to, and see how much they're going for. If you can confirm that they are being sold for 140, 150,000, what you do is that you buy below that 140, 150,000, which is below market value, for 100,000, and then you do the refurb for maybe another 20 grand. By the time you do a refurb for 20 grand, the total cost of that property is 120,000 to you, and then you now sell. So when you sell, you can then sell for 140, 150, which means you made 20,000 profit or 30,000 profit within maybe 3 months or 6 months, depending on how you're buying the property. You're buying by mortgage, you can't remortgage if you want to just take your equity out until 6 months later. But if you're buying cash, I think you might be able to do it, but just check that very well as well. Now, the other one that you can do again is you can buy below market value, right? You can extend or expand the property and sell. Or you can even buy a property that is okay. The value is 140 in that area. You buy it for 140. It's a 3-bed, but you have the potential to make it a 5-bedroom. So what you do is that you buy it, you now expand or you extend the property to becoming a 5-bedroom, right? And then you now sell. So the money you're going to make will be on the expansion you do into the property. It's still flip as well. But this time around, you're not living in a 3-bedroom that you made it. You're making it a 5-bedroom. And then you can sell the property. That's another good one that people do as well. And you can always find properties with potentials for extension, right? Some might come with land space. Some might come with looking at the environment. Maybe other people have done the same extension, but that particular person have not done theirs. So you know that, okay, if you put in application to the local council, then they will probably grant you the application. You can also do that by putting what we call pre-app in, which means telling the council that, oh, would you grant this application if I put it in? So a pre-app is like pre-application. That you can do as well before you buy the property. Or you can even buy the property subject to an application being approved, which means put an application in, wait for the council to reply to say, yes, you can extend it to 5-bed, and then you buy the property. That you can do as well, okay? Now, what you must know is that in doing all this, you must buy below market value. The profit in real estate comes in when you're buying the property below the market value, simply because it's a rundown property, or the person that owns the property is in dire need to sell, probably because of repossession is going to happen soon, or maybe they are moving out of the country. So these properties are there. If you reach out to a real estate agent and tell them, oh, I am an investor, I am a cash buyer, I want to buy property below market value. It doesn't matter if it's a rundown property, I'm ready to pay for it. Or if it's a seller that is willing to sell because they can't wait for the time it takes to go through mortgage process and everything, and you have the cash of the 100,000, you can actually do good negotiation. To be honest with you, the best of the deals in real estate comes in when you have a cash. When they call you cash buyer, which means you have the money in the bank already there to buy the property, which means we don't need to wait for lender like a bank to do the valuation and everything and then do their rigorous process. You would actually speed up that process, do the checks and everything, and buy the property quickly. Another one that you can know is that you can buy property from auction. But please, if you don't know about property, don't buy property from auction. If you don't know about property, don't buy property from auction. You might end up losing all your money. Auction property requires you to have looked at the property, know exactly what you are buying before you bid for it. Because by the time you bid for the property, you have to pay for the property. And when you pay for the property and you have actually paid much more than what the market value is or what is worth, then you're already running on negative equity because you bought an auction. People that are quite experienced in property, they buy from auction, but I wouldn't advise you to do that if you don't have the experience. Auction can be very good if you know your way around it, but please don't start with auction. Start with normal property that you can do a survey with and you can understand the market value of the property. Okay, if you want to know more about how you can get into the real estate and what you should be looking out for and everything, you can reach out to me. I'll give you more information that I know. There are other organizations that are doing this master class of property. Some are quite expensive, some pay about 10 grand, 15 grand. The one I went for with my friend that paid for was about 4 grand. That was from Progressive, and we went for the master class for I think 2 full days thereabout, or 3 days thereabout. It's all day class where they teach you how to do all those things. It's quite interesting. If you have the money, you can go for it. But at the end of the day, information is available everywhere, right? You can actually start small, and there's nothing better than experience. And if you find somebody that has done it already, why don't you partner with them? Why don't you speak to them and learn from them as well? I hope this information has been able to help you. if you're thinking of doing it, or maybe you want to go into Airbnb, you want to buy property for Airbnb, or you want to buy property and you want to probably lease it out for maybe companies or care companies and the like, so that you can make some money. All those things are possible. You just need to understand the domain clearly before you invest your money. I hope you can invest your money in the right place and you won't lose your money. Thank you very much. My name is Abraham Sunday again. Until I see you next week again, it's Chronicles of 1900. It's an inspirational podcast, and I'm going to be telling you everything I know so you can be informed as well. If you have any question, please put it in the comments, and please like, share, and also comment on it. Looking forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, thank you. Have a lovely one. My name is Abraham Sunday, and it's Chronicles of 1900, an inspirational podcast. Bye for now.